Let's get right to the interview. This week, she launched her new podcast, The Megyn Kelly Show. My friend and former colleague, Megyn Kelly, huge congratulations and welcome back, Megyn. Megyn Kelly is back in business, folks. There it is, her podcast, The Megyn Kelly Show. Megyn, terrific. Good to have you back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
All right, so let our control room roll. What I found of the debate this week with the two low points, each candidate scored, and I was following your Twitter, and we were tweeting back and forth, but there were a couple of obvious low points for both. Let's have our control room roll and back-to-back listen.
This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacist. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got to be
not
kidding.
militia.
Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing.
FBI director
This is a left-wing problem.
So, Megyn, in the span of 1 hour, the man who's the president of the United States and the man who wants to be president of the United States brought up Antifa and Proud Boys, almost defending both of them. Your thoughts?
It's a no-brainer. I mean, how could they miss those, right? Like, what political capital is there? Is the Proud Boy contingency so great that Trump can't just come out and say, obviously I condemn them. I don't like white supremacists and I don't need or want their vote. So that was easy. And Antifa, like, I realized they're saying, oh, Biden was quoting Chris Wray, the FBI director. That is a very short and partial quote. And as soon as he said it, he came out and clarified that it's a very dangerous group that's getting more organized at the state and regional, local levels. And on he went. So, like, to sort of be, oh, it's just this idea. It's like an idea that maybe one day we'll have an anti-fascist group that goes out there and fights for goodness. No, bull. They are out there on the streets causing hell. They've shot police officers. So the problem on both sides on some of this stuff, Eric, is that Trump is not always the most effective messenger for his cause. And neither, for that matter, is Biden. You know, it's like, remember when Romney and Barack Obama went at it, and they weren't everybody's favorite, but they were really articulate and they could really land their arguments. And then you decided if you were persuaded. On these, you're like, Trump, just mention, like, when you started talking about critical race theory, it was like, just explain what it is. Tell them what's in it. Tell them what was being shoved down the throats of people all over the federal government, and then they'll be with you. But instead, he's like, it was terrible. So I got frustrated watching it.
So I think a lot of people were frustrated, with one of our former colleagues, Chris Wallace. It has got to be a difficult thing, and you've done this. You've been the debate moderator, and you've done this. How do you handle a situation where you have one candidate that won't stop and the other one that, frankly, gets lost in the shuffle sometimes? How do you handle that as a debate moderator?
I think, look, he faced an enormous challenge that we really haven't seen in any recent presidential debate, as far as I can remember. So I understand that dynamic, but I think, and frankly, I don't know whether the Commission on Presidential Debates controlled this aspect or whether he controlled this aspect, but I would have said, I'm in control of the microphones and I'm in control of the camera. And when those two guys are talking over each other, and you can see me trying to get in control room, you put me on cam. And if I tell you to cut the mics, you cut the mics. You don't have to do it one time. You look like a jerk if you kept doing it. You did it one time, you sit back, let them go off, stay silent when everybody realizes you're not saying anything, look at them and say, you done? Because your mic wasn't on and the camera was on me and no one heard you. And that's how it's going to go if you continue interrupting each other.
Yeah, and I remember you were masterful at that. You just commanded the attention of not only the audience, but also the people on stage as well. Megyn, let's turn a little bit to the other topic du jour right now, going into the last 4 or 5 weeks before the election. Supreme Court nominee, ACB, Amy Coney Barrett. How did this become a political football, and who wins this political football game?
Well, I mean, I think, having practiced law and having covered the Supreme Court for a number of years, the Democrats started it. You know, not to sound like a child, but they did start it. They started it with Robert Bork. It used to be back in the day of Antonin Scalia and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, they would get confirmed 98-2 or 98-0 if somebody skipped out that day. As long as you were a reasonable jurist, somebody who got a good rating as a jurist on the bench, you would get approved. And then with Robert Bork, the Democrats changed it to, you know, you're just too conservative. Well, that's too bad. the Republic had understood prior to that you elect a Republican president, you're going to get conservative appointees and vice versa. They changed it with Bork, and then Miguel Estrada was a Republican's nominee to go up on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, a great lawyer, and the Democrats would not give the guy a hearing for 2 years because they were afraid of him. He was this spectacular lawyer, Hispanic guy. They could see him going up to the Supreme Court, and so they basically killed his nomination. Then the Republicans got into control. They started to not vote on Obama's lower court judges. Then it went back and so on, back and forth, right? The Harry Reid got rid of the filibuster because Republicans were doing that, and then the Republicans got rid of the filibuster at the Supreme Court level. So bottom line, no one cares now. No one cares. They fight dirty. They're guilty. The Dems started it, so no one has sympathy for them. And I think the Republicans are probably playing this exactly the right way. Push it through, get it done. She's getting on the bench.
And what about the Democrats saying, well, if that does happen and we do win the White House and the Senate back, we're going to stack the court. We're going to keep changing the math until whoever's in power has the Supreme Court. You were there. You were at the Supreme Court. Can they do that? Is this good? First of all, I know it's not good for America, not good for the Supreme Court, but what are the odds of doing something like that?
There's no way they're going to do it. Call their bluff. Call their bluff. There's zero. Let me make clear, Eric, if they do that, they've killed the U.S. Supreme Court. It's over. It's no longer a functioning body. No one will have faith in it because, it's just a bunch of partisans who've been put on there to enact whatever president's agenda. I mean, it basically gets rid of a third branch of government, or at least the court at the top of the third branch of government. So there's no way they'll follow through with that. The Democrats know the Republicans have them. And why on earth would they? The reason Joe Biden wouldn't answer that last night is because why on earth would he rattle a cage he doesn't need to rattle when he's ahead in this race? I think she's going to get on the bench and they're going to forget about it and they're going to hope for an early Clarence Thomas retirement.
Okay, I saved about a minute and a half because I want to talk about you. How are you doing? You're back in the game. How does it feel?
It feels great. I love being my own boss. I named the company Devil May Care Media because the full saying is the devil may care, but I do not. And that is how I feel right now. I am sick of being told what I can and cannot say, like most Americans. I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to have the discussions I want to have, and I'm going to have them the way I want. I'm going to use the language I want. And no one is around to tell me, no, you have to say it this way, or if you say it that way, you're bad. Or even when it comes to Trump, I'm going to cover him fairly. If I want to criticize him, I will. And if I want to defend him, I will. If you don't like it, you don't have to listen to me. But hopefully you will listen to me because I'm going to give it to you straight. And I've never been in the bag for anybody. So anyway, I like being my own boss and not having to respond to the corporate overlords anymore, Eric.
I know those people. I knew exactly. I've heard of those people. I've seen those people. I've been with them. Very quickly before we go, what are your thoughts of Donald Trump?
I mean, look, I think he's probably, in the views of Republicans, the right warrior in a controversial package. Most of the Republicans I know don't love the mean tweets and sort of the weird, why are we talking about whether Joe Scarborough murdered an intern where there's no evidence, right? What? Why did we spend 3 days on that? But this is the package the fighter they wanted comes in. The guy who will just bust up all convention when it comes to a debate and interrupt nonstop is the same guy who will just, not listen to anything he's being told about. Well, you can't drop that bomb in the Middle East, and he'll just do it. And then the next thing you know, he'll pull troops out of Syria and everybody will hate it, but it'll be okay. I think they're with him. But I think his biggest downside is his style. People can't see past it. And I think that's where he's getting into trouble right now. Suburban women, some of the seniors who have gotten a little tired of the Trump show, and he might do well to just read it back a little.
Yep. All right, Megyn, I agree with you about the Scarborough stuff. He's actually a friend of mine, contrary to what my audience may believe, but Joe's a good man, and yeah, there's none of that stuff going on with that murder crap. All right, let's move on. Megyn, we're going to say thank you so much. Your podcast is called The Megyn Kelly Show, and it's available right now on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Megyn is back, folks. Megyn Kelly, thank you so much.